Welcome back. Republicans officially securing the House majority, winning the 218 seats required to flip the chamber. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis shutting down reporters this week, questioning on whether if there's a post-midterm civil war brewing in the Republican Party. Watch this.
Hey, people just need to chill out a little bit on some of this stuff. I mean, seriously, we just ran an election. We have this Georgia runoff coming, which is very important for Republicans to win that Georgia runoff. I mean, I know around the country, Florida was kind of the biggest bright spot. It was not so bright in many other parts of the country. It was a substandard performance given the dynamics that are at play.
Joining us right now is Montana Congressman, House Veterans Affairs Committee member Matt Rosendale. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks very much for being here. What does this mean now that the GOP is in charge? How do things change in Washington?
Well, that's what we're trying to determine right now, Maria. If we continue to put the same people in the leadership positions with the exact same rules that are in place now, then we won't see any change. It'll be like listening to the old rock song, meet the new boss. It's the same as the old boss. And there's a lot of people that are serving in the House of Representatives right now that want to make sure that they have an equal voice in what takes place up here. We've been hearing for years that Washington is broken, and you just can't keep doing things the same way and hope that there's going to be a different outcome. Yeah. So that's why a group of us have gotten together and said, here's the proposals that we need to pursue to make sure that we restore regular order back to Congress.
Well, I want to get your take on what those proposals are, but let me just ask you, Kevin McCarthy has been saying now for a little while that, number one, his first priority, once he gets the gavel, is to stop the 187,000 new IRS agents that Joe Biden wants to hire with the $80 billion he wants to send to the IRS. Will you still be able to do that? And what about energy policy? Dwindling stockpiles of diesel have driven up prices to a record premium. The price of diesel gas right now at $5.34 a gallon. That's up 47% from last year. I know House Republicans are planning to battle Biden's green agenda and unleash American energy. How are you going to do it?
Well, that's exactly the things we're going to pursue, Maria. The Republicans and Natural Resource Committee, which I also serve on, introduced 8 different pieces of legislation during this current Congress, and the Democrats won't even allow us to have hearings on those. And that was directly to increase our domestic oil production. We have the solutions. We just have to be able to bring them forward. And again, after we do bring them forward, we have to take and redistribute the power so that it's not consolidated into the hands of the Speaker and a half a dozen hand-picked individuals. It doesn't matter whether it's Republican or Democrat run. We have to redistribute that power back amongst the body so that legislation, once it gets passed through committee, is allowed to come to the floor, is allowed to be debated and discussed amongst the entire chamber, and offers of amendments can be brought forward. Everybody in Montana is expecting their voice to be heard, as is the folks in Virginia and in Florida and in Texas, and the only way we're going to get that equal representation is if we redistribute the power that right now is consolidated in the Speaker's hands and in a few hand-selected individuals.
Congressman Bati Unger here from Newsweek. So nice to be speaking with you. You know, in poll after poll leading up to the midterms, voters were very clear what their top priorities were. You know, the economy, inflation, crime, and the border. And they gave Republicans top billing on all those topics, right? It's very clear how the Democrats have failed on those 3 issues, and yet they did not deliver big wins and for Republicans. And one of the arguments was they couldn't clearly see how Republicans had a pathway to helping them on those issues. What's your response to that argument?
I am glad that you brought that up. So we always hear about the power of the purse. We are going to have to use the power of the purse. The United States representatives, regardless of who has control over the Senate or the White House, is charged with developing a budget and appropriating the funds. And we are going to have to take our top items, which is securing the border, as far as I am concerned, and increasing our energy production, and tie that directly to the budget so that we are able to force those things to be accomplished. And by doing those two issues, we're going to be able to reduce the crime rates. We're going to be able to address the fentanyl problem that is raging across our country, in Montana specifically. And by increasing our energy, we're going to dramatically impact this inflation problem that we're experiencing now as well. The energy cost is one of the biggest driving forces in our groceries and everyday life that we are experiencing this rising inflation.
And what about funding to Ukraine? I know Kevin McCarthy said that was going to be something he was going to be willing to reconsider. You know, these billions and billions of dollars funding that war in Ukraine. What's the future of that?
I think that we need to take a really hard look at that. I've been screaming for us to recalculate our support for financial dollars just going out to Ukraine. And now we see this week that we have Sam Bankman-Fried, who is tied in with FTX, and some of the funds that were going into Ukraine have been invested into FTX, and that is very concerning to me. We need to have a clear audit of the funding that was sent to Ukraine. I mean, how can we send $70 billion to Ukraine to secure their border, and yet our southern border is wide open?
Yeah, well, I mean, let's look at that, because we've sent, what, 13.6 billion in March, 40 billion in May, and then in November talking this 37.7 billion. So we're talking about 91.3 billion, and that's about 30% more than Russia's total military spending. Congressman, thanks very much for being here this morning. We so appreciate it. Matt Rosendale, we'll keep watching all of that.